Hello, my Virgo, and welcome to your day. Thank you so much again for joining me. So, what I'm going to talk about today is the month of March and your horoscope for the month of March. First, I want to go over some basic concepts for you to understand. This is the first time we've ever talked about the planets in such detail, so I want to make sure you're on the same page with me about how planets and signs being in different positions can affect you in different ways. The first thing we'll talk about is when something is within 0 degrees of you, or basically 0 degrees. So when it's within your sign, that is when it's in conjunction with you, and that is like positive energy, harmony. Things are just going to flow very naturally with you and those elements, those planets. Next is when something is sextile to you. That means it is 60 degrees away from you. So for you, Virgo, that would be your water signs, your complementary element of water, and that would be Cancer and Scorpio. So if things are in Cancer and Scorpio, they are going to be they're not going to be as good as if it was within your sign in conjunction with you, but it's going to be an easy partnership is what I would call it. Ideas, collaboration, and things of that nature, it's going to work out. When things are so close to you, it's a little bit forest for the trees. You may not see or feel how naturally things are going to work out. It's a little bit more of a question mark. You have to have a little more faith in the process, but it's going to be good. The next one we're going to talk about is when things are trying to you. This is the triangulation of you and your other earth signs. So for you, Virgo, that's Capricorn and Taurus. They are your triangulation. They're 120 degrees away from you on the left and the right. And that is like, I akin that to the flowing down a river. It is just seamless and smooth. It's not that it's a part of you, but it is absolutely effortless. You just have this energy with those other elements when they're in those signs that is just naturally going to be in your favor. And you probably won't even question it too much. You'll just feel like it's a good time for you to be embracing those things, to be thinking about those things or whatever they are. So those are the positive ways you can be aligned in your sign, 0 degrees. 60 degrees away from you, which is sextile, and in your your complementary element of water, or they're 120 degrees away from you and in your element, the signs that are also within the same element as you of earth. So next is how things are a little bit more negative. So when things are directly opposite you, that sign directly across the way from you, it is a water sign, and it is a complementary element, but that's where things get a bit more difficult. So for you, that's Pisces. When things are in Pisces, they feel a little less I don't want to say normal. They don't feel as natural to be that way. You're not going to want to navigate towards those elements. It's not going to be a good time for that for you. You're going to need to wait until things are a little more seamless, a little more natural. And that's like, for example, by the end of the month, Venus will be in Pisces. So throughout the end of March and even partially in April, you just may not feel super lovey-dovey. You might not be as just emotionally just oohing and awing over your partner or loving, just in general, just having that really romantic and family oriented mindset that Venus has, just because it's in Pisces. But as it moves out of Pisces, you'll start to loosen up a little bit. So it's okay to feel that way. If you're feeling any issues with things, it's always good to check your daily horoscope, your daily astrological chart, just to make sure that you're on the same page with how the planets are affecting you. You know, some things are always going to have their own elements to them. The nature versus nurture, you can't control that. That's just life. You know, everything isn't just the perfect push and pull, but it is there, it is relevant, and it's important to understand exactly how it's affecting you. So, the last thing that we'll just talk about before we really get into all the planets is when something is square. So, when something is square to you, it means it's 90 degrees away from you. So, for you, Virgo, that is on your left hand side, that's Gemini. On your right hand side, that is Sagittarius. So, those are, I guess you could say they're like a little more like headbutting kind of energy. You kind of have a natural, known feeling that you're kind of meh with those. You don't really necessarily know, you don't have this like desire to stay away from that area, but you just, I akin it to Murphy's Law. If you try to force something during those times, it might not work out the best. You're going to have to be very careful with how you force something for you when you're dealing with elements and planets that are in signs that you just don't naturally just super click with. And so when it comes to like relationships, that's not to say that you as a Virgo would not get along with a Gemini or a Sagittarius. It's just important to know that things are not going to be as seamless. Integration is going to be a little bit more challenging and a little more work, especially with the Gemini, because the opposite of Earth is air. So now that we've talked about exactly what these aspects of a horoscope are, and don't worry, later on in the month I will be posting kind of a beginner's guide to this that you can always refer to anytime you want, and I'll of course let you know when that's up. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview before we start going into your month. So for you, Virgo, you have no planets in your sign. You're not going to have any planets in your sign for a while, probably for like maybe three or four more months, I would say. But right now what you have is you have Neptune approaching Pisces across from you, and we'll go through Pisces first because that's really the most relevant, because it's your most opposite. So, and then as we get into the middle of the month, you'll have the Sun inside of Pisces, and you'll have Venus coming close to Pisces. Then by the 23rd of the month, the Venus is completely in Pisces, the Sun is completely in Pisces, and then you have at the end of the month Mercury right on the edge of Pisces and Venus and the Sun in the middle. So what that means is that as you go through the month of March, your sense of self is going to just be a little bit off. Your sense of love and how you give and receive affection may be a little bit off. And as you get to the end of the month, communication is going to start to be a little off for you. There's just going to be this even stronger need to be careful of the words and the things that you say and the way that you are interacting with others. You can't help but communicate with people all the time, so it's not like you can just not communicate while, Mercury is in Pisces, but it's just good to know that for you, when Mercury is in Pisces, it's a little bit like when Mercury is retrograde. You just need to be more cautious. And so when Venus is in Pisces, again, it's like a little bit like when Venus is in retrograde. So you're going to need to be a little bit more careful of how you speak to your loved ones and deal with your loved ones, because you don't want them to have any false issues with what's going on. You're not saying anything inappropriate, but it might be taken inappropriately, so just be careful with that. So the next thing that you would want to be wary of is if something was square to you. But right now, there are no planets in Gemini and there are no planets in Sagittarius. Pluto is very close to Sagittarius, but it's not in Sagittarius. So be a little bit cautious. Actually, that's Pluto. When it comes to like how you're dealing with the depths of your mind. I wouldn't focus on deep things at this time. Wait for them to get a little bit more ingrained into Capricorn. If you're having any, just thoughts of things that you need to change, or big drastic moments in your life that are just going to be transformative, big changes like that. Dealing with maybe having kids, or trying to get past big hiccups in your life, any kind of evolutionary concept. While it is in Capricorn and that's good for you, really you need to understand, like, when were you born? What time, where do you fall in the Virgo calendar? And with that, you'll understand exactly how much something would affect you on the other side. But generally, I say that if something is in Capricorn, it is good. But everything is always at its peak when it's in the center. And Pluto is not. It's very much on the edge. But Pluto is going to be, it's a slow moving planet. We'll just move on to your triangulation then, because that's what we're talking about anyway. So for Capricorn, you have Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. Those three planets, they're not moving fast. Jupiter is the fastest of the three, and it moves one sign every year. It takes 12 years to create an entire cycle of the zodiac signs. So as it moves out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, which is where it's headed, you'll lose a little bit of that luck factor. When Jupiter is in one of your triangulation signs, it is a good, how do you say it? It's a very positive indicator of the things going on in your life right now. It's a sign of understanding and expansion, growth, abundance in your life, maybe even a sense of optimism. And so when it's in Capricorn or in Taurus, those things are very flowy with you. You're having those energies in your life. You're feeling that. So for you, it would really have been like all of 2020 would have felt like a really positive and optimistic year for you. And I know that's kind of weird because 2020 was awful. But like maybe looking back, you can say that 2020 wasn't that bad. So then when it comes to Saturn, that's all about structure, rules, just following in your line of responsibility. Saturn is a slower moving planet. I think it's about double Jupiter. So it probably takes 2 years to move through a sign. So while it's inside of Capricorn, you're feeding off all of that energy of having that sense of responsibility and structure, and being focused on the things that are grounding you and that matter. So that's what's going on there. So then on the other side, we have Taurus, and inside of Taurus is Mars. And Mars is in the middle-ish, but it's moving towards the edge, but not near there yet. So Mars is like aggression, but it's also like assertiveness and attitude, passion, standing up for things you believe, action, being ready to go. So while Mars is inside of Taurus, it's going to really affect your home life. You're going to have this desire to be a little more active and action-based and focused. But while that is the case, it's important to understand that in the next couple of weeks, I would say maybe even, by the end of March, Mars is still in Taurus. Mars doesn't move quite as fast as the Earth, but it does have just a little over a year of a cycle. So within, I'd say, middle of April at the latest, it'll be in Gemini. And so you might feel this kind of need to slow down your actions, and every time you try to do something, it might not go exactly according to plan. So just be careful how you're acting and the things you're doing, making sure that you're maybe even allowing others to help you with your actions and not just trying to drive it all by yourself, because you're going to be a little prone to missteps when you're trying to push any passions forward. So we've talked about your triangulation, we've talked about your square and your opposite and your conjunction. Sextily, you don't have anything there. For you, that would either be Scorpio or Cancer. And there's nothing on this side of the universe right now, quite frankly. Everything is on the Pisces side of the universe, your opposite. Right now, you're on the blank side. You are on the empty side of space, if you will. But that doesn't mean these things aren't affecting you, as I've just gone through everything and told you what's going on. But just know that right now, you don't have anything like heavily on your side one way or another. You just really have those energies that are just kind of touching your peripheral senses when it comes to things being close to you and affecting your day to day, whether it be square or sextile, good or bad. You don't have anything. So really, your life is just kind of going along at an even beat right now, and probably not being too crazy influenced, like I would say on a micro level, on a daily level, on a macro level, on a larger scale. Things are being greatly influenced because you've got so much in Capricorn and so much in Taurus. So the other two signs that we haven't talked about where planets are is Aries and Aquarius. For you, when something for everyone, when something is right next to you or right next to your opposite, it's kind of like net neutral. So for Aries and Aquarius, they're right next to Pisces, and so those aren't hurting you or really helping you. It's just you need to understand that those are kind of like dormant a little bit. So that would be your intuition side is a little bit dormant, and the other one is Neptune. Neptune is your intuition, actually. The other one was Uranus, sorry. And that one is like kind of rebellion and reformation, change, pushing against the norm, kind of like intentionally going upstream. And that one is just kind of meh. So if you have any things that you're wanting to work on, where you're wanting to kind of rock the boat a little bit, check things out, see how things are, try things to take you out of your comfort zone. Not your norm, Virgo, to go outside your comfort zone. But if that is something you're thinking about, just know that it's kind of a 50-50 shot as to whether it goes well. Maybe you might want to wait until Uranus gets a little closer to Taurus to get some positive energy, because right now it's like almost dead even inside of Aries, meaning that it's just as close to Pisces, which is your opposite, as it is to Taurus, which is your triangulation. So if you are wanting to try new things, I might wait a couple of months, just put the stars a little more in your favor. But really, that's all I have as far as the planets go, and how they are affecting you. They don't move super fast, so it's not important to talk about them every single day. But I do think it's important to touch on them at least every month or so. And I haven't talked about them too much in too much detail. So what I'm going to start doing is posting the astrology charts so that you can just see it for yourself, understanding based on what I've told you. You'll understand that, anything in Pisces is not really your best friend. Anything in Gemini or Sagittarius is going to be a little difficult for you to work with. Something inside of Taurus, Capricorn, really good flow, really good energies for you. And something inside of Cancer and Scorpio are gonna be good team project kind of things. Like, you're gonna work well with those. They're not necessarily gonna be luck related, but they are not gonna have a negative outcome. So that's all we have for today. I will get back to doing the tarot readings after this. And I just want to thank you for being here. If you've made it this far, please subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.